Hi, everybody. This is Jimmy DeYoung. Welcome to Prophecy Today video. President Obama met recently at the White House with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. It was a strange meeting. No press were allowed to be there. The President of the United States seemingly putting great pressure on the Prime Minister of Israel. It's just an evidence, a glaring evidence of how human government is setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. That's our theme for this Prophecy Today video, and we're going to be talking with some of our broadcast partners, are letting you hear what they have to say of how human government around the world is indeed setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. Bob Maginnis is our man in Washington, D.C. He looks at geopolitical activities around the world, and he says that the election of a human government in Iraq is a very, very important election at this time.
It appears as if the secularist Ayed Alawi, who has, of course, led most of the Sunni alliance to victory with 91 of the 325 seats in the parliament in his back pocket. Now, he beat out the incumbent, who, of course, is Nuri al-Maliki, who led a Shiite effort and garnered about 89 votes. Now, what this means, Jimmy, is that the Sunnis now have an opportunity to form a government with another party. Now, it appears as if the second group that it may form with could be either the Kurds or an Iranian-backed Shiite alliance that would be very interesting. Now, there may have been a backroom deal before the election that Maliki, who is Shiite by background, would form a government with that Shiite group. Hard to know. Right now, of course, Alawi has the opportunity to form a government first, and if he fails, then another, obviously Maliki would have an opportunity to try. Whatever comes out in the mix, hopefully it will come out quickly so that these parties will not resort to sectarian violence.
Bob Maginnis reporting on the Iraqi election returns and what's going to be happening there. Dave Dolan has covered the Middle East for a number of years. He has some very interesting comments. He told me that he's going to say it publicly.
Frankly, Jimmy, I'll say it out loud. I don't think they have anyone to blame but themselves for just making this into such a huge issue. As Prime Minister Netanyahu pointed out in his meetings with Obama this week and in his speech before AIPAC last Tuesday, every Israeli leader, every Israeli government since 1967 has built in the eastern half of Jerusalem. This is the Jewish people's ancient and modern capital, and they're certainly going to live all around Jerusalem, period.
David Dolan covering the Middle East for us here on Prophecy Today video. Rabbi Yoel Keren is concerned about the Israeli Supreme Court. Again, government playing a role in what's happening in our world and setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. The Israeli Supreme Court said no to a sacrifice, the Passover sacrifice, being offered on the Temple Mount. The rabbi has much to say about that.
We petitioned the Supreme Court again. Yehuda Glick went to the Supreme Court once again, bringing a very well-worded petition on that Jews should be allowed to ascend the Mount, worship God there, and bring their Passover offerings. And the Supreme Court once again rejected the petition. In years past, the wording seemed to be a little bit, sort of encouraging. This year, the Supreme Court had some absolutely ridiculous statements in the rejection of the petition. First off, they said that they do recognize that Jews have a right to worship and sacrifice on the Temple Mount, but that right is not absolute and must make way and give to security concerns. Now, that's all well and good to say that, but exactly when did Jews have this right to worship and sacrifice on the Temple Mount? Not since 1967, not since Israel has been in control of it. So the wording that they use acts like, we let you worship and sacrifice there, just not right now, just not for the last 40 years. That's all. It's so ridiculous. The second thing that they said that was very upsetting to me, they said, while we realize it's a holy place to Jews, it's the holiest place to Judaism, we have to consider the ramifications of allowing Jews to worship and sacrifice there, what this would cause to all the other religions that this is a holy place for, how that would upset and enrage them. Yeah, I don't see too many Christians or Buddhists or Hindus getting enraged at Jews worshiping on the Temple Mount.
Right.
They just won't come right out and call it what it is. It's radical Islam.
Yes.
And they say all the other religions. Just really disappointing, really disheartening to see, what's supposed to be the High Court of Justice in Israel once again come up with these flimsy, lame excuses for not allowing Jews to worship their God in the place that he told us to.
Rabbi Yoel Keren, he is in Jerusalem, and he's talking about how the government of Israel is setting the stage for what's going to happen in the end times. Dr. Rob Congdon covers the European Union for us, and with the economic crisis taking place in the European Union, government has to step in and take a role setting up what could be what Bible prophecy calls for.
Oh, absolutely. Just the last 2 days, great controversy in Europe over the term government instead of using the term government instead of governance. A governance suggests here's a system we're going to work on. Government says control. And even the commission president, he used the word government, and they said, oh, don't use that. That's not a good term. But that's what they're thinking is through the economics, they will pull together this final strong government, and through the regulation of economics, they will have the controls.
Dr. Rob Congdon with that report on the European Union and how it is a governmental body, interestingly playing a role in this world today as we look at human government setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. It's a rare thing when two heads of state, especially very close allies, meet at the White House in what has been termed a closed-door session between the United States President and the Israeli Prime Minister. The two leaders met to discuss the disagreement that the two administrations have as to how they must move ahead in the peace process. Prime Minister Netanyahu, in a speech before his White House meeting, had stated that 3,000 years ago, King David was building in Jerusalem, and the Jewish people are going to continue to build in Jerusalem. The Israeli Prime Minister told also the United States leader Barack Obama that Jerusalem is not a Jewish settlement. It is the capital city of the Jewish state of Israel. This conversation we're having right now is evidence of how human government is used to set the stage for the end-of-time scenario that will be played out, especially with the Jewish state of Israel. God has used human government down through history to deal with the Jewish people. 2 Chronicles 36 records how the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar was used to take the Jewish people out of their land. Ezra chapter 1 reveals how Cyrus, the Persian king, was used to allow the Jewish people to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. The Roman general Titus and his mighty army destroyed the temple, devastated the city of Jerusalem, and dispersed the Jews to the four corners of the earth, just as Jesus had said it would happen in Matthew 24 and Luke chapter 21, and a fulfillment of Deuteronomy chapter 38. Human government is used. Revelation chapter 17, verse 17 says, God will use human world leaders to accomplish his will in the end times. And, of course, this White House meeting between Barack Obama and Benjamin Netanyahu gave us evidence this week that God is continually using human government to set the stage for how Bible prophecy will play out. Let me just tell you what the next event is. It's the rapture of the church. Then all of the tribulation period of time of judgment upon the earth unfolds. But the rapture, when Jesus shouts, the archangel shouts, the trumpet of God sounds, you and I, who know Christ as Lord and Savior, will be caught out of this earth into the heavenlies. By the way, the rapture could happen at any moment. Having said that, nothing left for me to say, except let's keep looking up until...